What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Bible podcast. I am glad to announce that we finally have a visual so you can see all of our dumb faces. And we got a special guest today, Tyler. What's going on, Tyler?
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on with us. I know, rough days for the Lakers, but we'll get to that in a little bit. As always, what's up?
It's our first guest.
Yeah, as always, I am Richie. This is
Honor.
Rob. And
So
now we have Tyler this week. So, just a recap of the week. I'm still in here. As I don't know if you guys heard on the last podcast, the spare room went on fire. So, can't get in there yet. So, you guys are seeing a blank wall, which is better than nothing, you know. But besides that, we're going to get right into it today with a heavy debate. Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic. I think they both had, like, video game numbers in, like, the matter of like 3 hours the other day. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
B went crazy.
He had 50, and I think Jokic had a 40-point triple-double the same night.
Yeah. He had 49, and I forget. I think it was 14 assists or something like that, maybe rebounds. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's kind of funny. Bamba from the Magic had a killer first half as well with the 7 threes, and then Embiid just answered. And now we're hearing all these, Kobe and Jordan comparisons, rightfully so, and they're right there at the top of the MVP list, as they should be.
Wait. You're comparing these two guys to Kobe and Jordan?
That didn't come from me. I'm just seeing a lot of analysts say, like Jay Williams and them. And you see it in his moves. I'll give him that. And he said it himself in his post-game presser. He's like, I could be Shaq and all of them combined. He's proven it to us. And
You said that Embiid or?
yeah, in his post-game press.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you said that.
It's just, it's Philadelphia is incredibly grateful for him. And, hopefully they can get him a good partner very soon. He's just been incredibly dominant, really, for the last 2 years. And he didn't look like he was in the MVP conversation to kick off the season. And as we entered December and January, he really just stood out with his dominance. And rightfully so. The two of them are right there in the top 4, top 3, as they should be.
Yeah, I can't get behind the Jordan-Kobe comparison. I don't know who said that. That's the first I'm hearing that, and no.
I'll say you can see it in his moves, but yeah, I obviously, he wants to have that confidence. We'll give it to him, but it's
have a blast telling yourself that. Yeah, I'm looking up like their numbers right now. Like Jokic 26 and 14 and 7 assists. His game, like his big game was, Wednesday. He had 41 minutes logged, 49 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists. Oh my God. 49,
night, right?
14. That was Wednesday, yeah.
Embiid had 52. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, wow. That's
Then the incredible thing was me and Tyler talked about it the other night. You're not going to see anyone make that pass, and especially that crunch time. Maybe
with Aaron Gordon.
Yeah,
in the
and
corner.
The double team across court hits the dagger, and it's funny because they could have got a delay of game because the one guy from the bench ran the center court because they thought it was over, but it was just a shot clock. Let alone a center, you're never going to see any player make that pass. And
there's only one other player in the league that makes that pass.
Absolutely, and especially
LeBron.
With how big he is too. And it's just, I'm really starting to become a big fan and appreciate him. Like, as I preach about Steph and preach about LeBron. Tyler knows I never used to about LeBron, but as a Boston fan. But yeah, I'm just really starting to become a big fan, and we're never going to see another big like this. It could be safe to say.
Yeah. You're talking about Jokic, right? I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his play style. People talk about Steph changing the game, and they're not wrong. He kind of did too, because he's kind of like the first center that like has brought the ball up and like is a playmaker the way that like Lonzo Ball is, or Rajon Rondo in his day, and I think that led to like the Warriors using Draymond more in that role, even though they still used it like back then, but like almost like they'll like sit Steph like a breather, like a bench period. I got a little length right there. I don't know what that is. And they'll use Draymond as their point guard, and it works. He is the perfect like point guard. He's just the wrong size. He could be Magic Johnson, like with the fact meaning he could be a 6'9" point guard. Skill set, no, I'm not comparing them. But Draymond, like he brings the ball up like Jokic, and with Murray out, that's why you really haven't seen that big of a drop off, because you see Jokic bringing the ball up when they have to.
Yeah, and he already was, and it's just like you said. I mean, Jokic kind of put it to sleep. But what do you think, Ty, about how he's just excelled the game and changed it basically for all big men, let alone front court guys who want to be points?
Yeah, kind of going back to the Draymond thing. Draymond, he's a good passer, obviously. You know, he averaged 7-8 assists. But I'd say he's more of a smart, high IQ passer. Jokic is like a God-gifted vision passer. Like you said, we're never going to see a near 7-footer that can make the plays that he does. He's flashy too, throwing a no look, like behind the back. I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Every night too. And he's so consistent.
Every game.
Yeah, I think like going to like the other side with Embiid. Do you guys think he's underrated? Because no one really talks about him. And like, I mean, you hear his name, like when you hear his name, you think All-Star, but he should be in the MVP conversation, especially with Durant down now. Like, is he the front runner?
Are you saying Jokic or Embiid?
Embiid, because think about like, I know DeRozan and Levine have been great, but this guy like is single-handedly dealing with all the stuff he's dealing with. The Phillies in a pretty decent spot now.
Yeah, and Daryl Morey even said it himself. Maybe now he'll lower his asking price to maybe a top 40 player or something, and the asking price for Ben wouldn't be that high. But if I was to compare the two, it's very close. Like I said, they both deserve to be up there in the MVP talks, top 4, top 3. I would say Jokic is better just because of his decision making and just because, yeah, we've never seen anything like Embiid. Like, we're not going to see Shaq or Olajuwon with that footwork and play like a guard a lot, because you're going to see him. That's what I mean. That I partially agree with the Jordan comparison with Kobe, just because like the footwork and his moves at the post. Tyler knows he loves the baseline turnaround himself.
Yeah.
Joel does it. But so I partially agree that he deserves those comparisons. Like you said, Rich, we're never going to see anything like him. But like I just said about Draymond Green, Jokic has basically excelled that, and that's why he won it over him last year. And it's just he makes it look easy too. The mags between the legs, the assisting, the way he runs point guard, the way he shoots threes, and that was Embiid's knock before. Not just this year, but before last year too. It's just the decision making, and Philly fans used to say like, "Why are you going to force that 3?" or "Why are you going to," And obviously it builds confidence, and he was only growing, and he's clearly gotten better at it. But yeah, I think Jokic is better, and I think he is my MVP right now. I did kind of sound foolish. Not foolish, obviously. Curry kind of looked like he was going to run away with it before he and the Warriors kind of cooled off. But
that was the pick. It was Steph.
Yeah, definitely. Or if not, KD and Giannis obviously made a big leap with how great he always is. But it's Jokic, and people should appreciate him a lot more if they aren't already.
Yeah, no, I think this year specifically is a good year for the debate, because they both don't have their number 2 guys. Jokic doesn't have his number 3 guy, Jamal Murray, MPJ, and then Embiid doesn't have Ben Simmons, obviously. So we kind of get to see what both of them can do, as if they can like truly like not necessarily carry, but like can they put more of that load onto their back and bring them to the playoffs, bring them far into the playoffs, and they've obviously both shown that they're capable of it. I mean, Embiid's averaging 28, 11, and 4. He's been an improved playmaker too.
Yeah, he really has.
And Jokic, obviously, crazy numbers. 26, 14 rebounds a game. That is in the league, right? Let's go Bear, right? Probably behind Gobert.
I think it is Rudy, but I think he's probably right up there with them.
Yeah, and 7 assists. That's probably top 5 to 10 in the league. But yeah, there's a few reasons I'm going to give the edge to Jokic, but it's the difference between the two is like minute. My first reason, it really hasn't been the case this year, but it's availability. Embiid's obviously been injury prone. He missed the first 2 years of his career. And I mean, he's been relatively healthy the past 2 years he kind of wasn't, but 2 years prior to that he was. Jokic, on the other hand, he's always available. He's always there.
Yeah.
For the entire, he didn't miss a game last year. I think he got hurt and maybe missed a couple. He's played 38. I don't know how many games he's played. But that's one of the reasons. And the second reason is you can obviously, at the end of the game, obviously just dump the ball down to either one of them, get him a bucket. But the thing that makes Jokic so lethal is what he showed, when was that, Wednesday, when he made the pass to Aaron Gordon. Like, you can double him, but it doesn't matter because he's going to find whoever's open.
Yeah.
So I'm giving the edge to him.
I guess I'm going to be on the outside of this one. I'm taking Embiid. And mainly, I think, like, offensively, I think it was Kendrick Perkins. Don't quote me on that. I don't want to be wrong if it isn't him, but
I think it was.
He said Embiid can do everything on offense. He has every move in the book. So does Jokic.
He does.
Like, and I'm still picking Embiid I'll get to it in a second, but Jokic is a better passer than Embiid. They both, like, Embiid's got a fadeaway. Have you seen the shots Jokic takes? He looks like just heaving the ball at the rim.
Dirk shots on one leg.
Like, when you watch I watched the Knicks play the Nuggets. I watched the Knicks play the Nuggets, and I'll see him, like, heave up a shot, and I'm like, that's just a bad shot. And it goes in. It's like, how do you can't guard it? But I'm going to go with Embiid. I think offensively they are very even. But Jokic is a liability on defense. Joel Embiid is an elite defender. And in my opinion, like, if, like, one of them was, like, a better offensive player, I'd probably lean offense. But because of their such equalness on offense, I'm going to have to go with defense. And Embiid he's kind of, I guess, when you're a really good offensive player, people forget about your defense unless you're Klay Thompson. But he is an elite defender. Like, so I'm going to go Embiid here. I'll take both of them.
Yeah.
I'll take both of them on my team, but
it doesn't really matter who you go with. It's kind of flipping a coin.
Yeah, I think people get rubbed off by Embiid's personality, but who cares? Like, he's being himself.
He's funny.
We all anoint Giannis, and rightfully so, for being, like, himself and being such a nice guy, and he really is. Like, you can't not root for Giannis. If you hate Giannis, you probably hate your life, and you probably hate, like, how the world is. Well, I'm not getting into that.
One thing I hate about Giannis is that he just won't admit that he's, like, a great, like, an all-time great already. Like, anytime, like, KD's brought up, he's like, oh, KD's the best player in the world. LeBron's the best player in the world. He'll never call himself the best player in the world, which means he's humble, but, like, still, like, you're up there.
I get what you're saying.
Just won Finals MVP.
But I saw, and this was another debate, and, oh, by the way, when I say hate the world, I mean sports. What do you call it? It was like, Stephen A, like, I have to take Ja Morant over Giannis. Didn't this dude just win Finals MVP? Like, how are we just gonna? I understand recency bias and stuff, but it's not like you said you're taking him over Luka, because Luka hasn't won that much yet. But he's still won more than Ja Morant has won.
Yeah, and it's like I said to you in the past regarding that. I think Perk said it himself. That was like, he's having, like, the Giannis reign and the Giannis takeover. And I agree with that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's not the best player in the world. He's
No.
he's entering the conversation to be one of them. But it's like he's not Antetokounmpo, and yeah, the rain is cool, and we see how he's starting to take over. But yeah, with Joel and Nicola, it's they're both two great guys, two amazing personalities who love to compete, and uh, the Joker doesn't even have social media too. You see him he pulled the LeBron walking into the locker room. I saw it during the Celtic game when they showed that it was coming up next with the book. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's Joel's durability was kind of what took him out of the lead for MVP last year when he missed 4 to 6 with the sprained MCL or whatever he had. But another thing Perk said was the thing about Nicola was that when he sees Rosh's guy, the AD in the playoffs, it's a problem. And I mean, we could transition with that and get to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You see the time in the corner?
Yeah, I'm fixing it right now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
go on, Tyler, if you want.
Well, we'll start off. I mean, Frank Vogel's on the hot seat, rightfully so. But like, everyone's like, oh, he doesn't know how to manage lineups and stuff. And like, yeah, there's truth to that. But like, then again, like, you got to work with what you got. And I mean, you got to run LeBron at center because your other best center is a 36-year-old Dwight Howard who can come in for 10, 15 minutes and block some shots, rim run, good rebounder. Like, he's still fine, but like, at the end of the day, like, he's 36. He's not really going to be keeping up with the Jokic, the Embiid of the league and all that. So there's that. Second, we have Russell Westbrook, who, when the trade first happened, I remember it was draft day, I think. And
Yeah.
Russ was starting to come up, but it was mainly Buddy Hield talking. I was like, I would love that. Like,
DeMar.
I mean, even then, everybody was thinking like, oh, DeMar to Chicago, like, he's not going to be that much of a game changer. I thought the same thing. Obviously, everybody was wrong about that. But I was like, yes, Buddy Hield, that'll be perfect. He's an elite three-point shooter, and that is exactly what we need. And then the Rush trade came up. Kuzma, Trez, KCP too, and picks, I think,
Yeah.
for Russ. And like, he's Russell Westbrook. We know what he is. We know he's been one of the great point guards of the 2010s, triple-double machine. But like, you don't need that. It's extra star power, and he is great. Russ at his peak, he could still be great, but like, it's just shot selection, the turnovers. He has limited the turnovers recently, but like, when you're taking, like 3 to 5 awful shots a game, those are also basically turnovers. So there's more turnovers there that just don't show up on the stat sheet. There are a few bright lights for this team. LeBron, obviously, if he can somehow carry this team to like a 4 seed, he might win MVP. And probably the second and only one has been Malik Monk. He has been really just unbelievable. I'm trying to find like his recents here. We'll just go off the season stats. He's shooting 41 from 3 on 5 attempts. I talked to you about, we talk about Monk all the time.
Yeah.
And remember the trade? We were sitting in the car and I said, I brought up Monk. Remember? We're at the Sands, Lloyd Sands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I brought up Monk, and you thought I was going to say to the Celtics.
I was like, Boston? You're like, Lakers.
Yeah.
This
is the day they were signing like everybody, like Kendrick Nunn, all those guys. And we got Monk, and I was like, like, that's nice. And turns out he's been like, I'd say he's been the second best player on the team with AD out. Russ is starting to, play into his role. And Russ said this maybe a few days ago. He was like, I'm the one who has to, give up the most, which is true. Because, I mean, he's obviously, so used to having the ball in his hands 24/7. He's got to kind of just buy into this role as, like, basically a secondary playmaker, which he's probably never done. Because playing with KD, Russ is the main playmaker. KD's going to go out there and drop 40 on everybody. But now when you got LeBron, who's also doing that, but also averaging 7-8 assists a game. So, I mean, Russ obviously isn't going anywhere with the $44 million contract. So you kind of got to sit there and figure it out. And I think I texted you about this, right, Rob? The Miles Turner thing. I mean,
Yeah.
That would be awesome. But, like, I mean, you see on Twitter, these Lakers fans are like, oh, let's give up Kendrick Nunn and Wayne Ellington in a second and get Ben Simmons. Like, come on, use your brain. But like I was saying to you, like, do whatever you can to trade for Miles Turner, because you can't have LeBron running center when AD's hurt. And AD himself always says he hates playing the 5. And he is better at the 4. I do prefer him at the 4. And especially defensively, having AD and Miles Turner, if that's even possible, that'd be unreal. But there are plenty of ways to turn the season around, and that would definitely be one of them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny how it's funny how the Celtic fans just like to look at them and be like, oh, well, at least like they're also under 500 and they're on the same level. But yeah, obviously we don't have the same studded team, and there's a lot more question marks with Boston. But yeah, I was surprised that they lost the Indiana game. I switched it to the Denver Clipper game. And then since League Pass is free, I switched it back and it was over, and I just heard the music playing on like the screen. But it was kind of funny how Russ was, what was he, 4 of 6 from 3 and 1 for 11 from 2. That's just a surprise. And then I think I saw Bill Simmons tweeted, my guy. He was like, Vogel's kind of like firing back with those comments that are because he sees this noise about him on the hot seat game to game. And then Dave McMenamin's like, I'm pretty sure it was him that asked the question. He was like, you didn't play Russ in the 4th. Like, why is that? And he was just like, oh, I wanted to play the people I thought would help us win. So he's kind of firing back, sort of. It's like, all right, it's not my fault. I won us a championship, or at least I was the coach for it. And it was Rob Pelinka that did this. But Woj said this yesterday on NBA TV. He said he had a conversation with Kobe and Pelinka once, and it was like, sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, which is very well could be the truth in this situation. They should be able to figure it out. And if anyone is able to do it, it's LeBron. And, people thought this would happen coming into the year. I mean, LeBron's doing what he can from the outside shooting, like we said, but it's just the fit with Russ. And if anyone could figure it out, it's him, like I said. But, yeah, I mean, Miles Turner would be awesome. It's tough with the trade chips, and that was the tough thing about this, was like there was really no plan B if it didn't work out. But it's just, I thought LeBron's presser was kind of funny as well, as I told you, like when he was just laughing and he was like, have you followed Russ throughout his career and this year? Like, how do you think he feels? Mm-hmm. And then he just, scattered away, and he was just like, me and my wife are going to the movie. And yeah, it's not his job to answer that, and he's not there to just,
he's not a babysitter.
And talk bad about his coach, who I've heard him praise Vogel a bunch of times throughout the past few years. And obviously he loves Russ. And Miles Turner would be a good solution, or another trade chip, whoever they got. Ben Simmons would be, I mean, you brought him up as like a Laker fan trade scenario. He would be an awesome fit.
Wait, hold up, Rob. I'm just gonna say something. I am so happy we're on camera, so you can see my facial expression every time I hear the name Ben Simmons. I hate that
Um,
guy. I hate him as a basketball player. I really do. But that's for another
so
conversation or one we already had.
yep, I'm sure we'll get into it more, but yeah, I mean, probably the biggest factor that could save them is AD turning into bubble form. And like you said, Ty, he said like he'd rather play the four. We know he had guard skills and played basically a guard position growing up. And that's what makes him so great is his ball handling ability. Like he can bring up the ball and have that Jokic himself. And we saw in the bubble, every three he was taking was I was about to say this. I don't think I said it. I was about to say this about Jokic before, like with his slow motion shots and step backs. Like every three he was taking was nothing but swish and cord.
Turnaround jumpers. He was unstoppable.
Unstoppable. And I mean, it was LeBron won the Finals MVP, but like, I mean, there was some Rondo noise, but AD could have very well won it himself.
If you gave it to AD, I would have been fine with it.
Yeah, and people are forgetting about him. He also has some durability issues himself.
100%.
But it's like people know that at the end of the day, he is one of the most skilled bigs, and he's just phenomenal. How old is he, Ty? Do you know? What is he, like 27?
28, 27 and 28.
Still in his prime, yeah. And what was everyone saying, especially Magic?
Birthday.
It's cool.
AD.
Especially, who shares a birthday with me? I found out recently, Caldwell Pope.
Yeah, KCP.
February 18th birthdays.
Yeah, AD's 28. He'll be 29 on March 11th. Great day.
Yeah, so, what was everyone saying after they won the title? They were like, LeBron's going to get older, and whether they get another star or not.
They'll say that every year until it actually happens.
Yeah. That we know that.
I saw a TikTok, actually, about Colin Cowherd talking about LeBron, and he was like, he's going to fall off the cliff. Like, we're not going to see LeBron putting up 40-point triple-doubles in the playoffs anymore. He's 31, and then there's, like, screenshots, like, 5 different games where he had, like, 40. It's like, he's not going to come down the court and, block the shot off the glass, and they showed the LeBron on Iguodala block. And it's like that's always going to be the argument. It's like Tom Brady, too. Like, that argument will never end until it happens or until they retire. So,
Tyler, you say your dad's a Browns fan, right?
Yeah.
So he'd understand why I'm not a big fan of Colin Cowherd.
I was just gonna say that's Rich's favorite guy.
I don't mind you criticizing people. Just when you over and over and over talk about it, it's like we get it, we know. So that's why I don't talk about Ben Simmons that much because it's my feelings on him and it's what it is. But my take. What's up?
I was just gonna say, understandably, so the rival. But to finish what I was saying before, like that's what I remember Magic Johnson when the Lakers won in the bubble. He was like, LeBron's gonna hand So he said he wanted to do with Kyrie in Cleveland before he left. Like LeBron's gonna hand the keys to AD, and he very well so soon.
Yeah.
Like they're best friends. I don't know if him and Russ have that close a relationship, even though they're very close friends. But dude, Taco Tuesday, they're riding bikes together. And
Taco Tuesday.
Eating dinner with the fam.
I love tacos.
I wouldn't worry too much about your team. But go on, Richie.
The only thing I have to say about the Lakers, really, I don't follow them that closely. I thought they were going to be really good. And just whenever LeBron's on the team, I'm going to have high expectations. But I think Frank Vogel is a little bit of a scapegoat along with Russ. You never see StatMuse tweet when Russell Westbrook plays well. He's been doing this his entire career. Why is it such a surprise now? I don't get it. He did it with maybe he's not as explosive as he once was, but we act like this guy was always a good 3-point shooter. He was never a good 3-point shooter. That's not his game.
Yeah.
And what's up?
I was just going to say, I wouldn't even say that about the explosion, too. I love that dunk over Gobert.
Yeah. I would have gotten a T, too, if I did that.
Especially with everything he's been through with going on.
I think in the NBA, it's such a player-driven league that every time something goes wrong, it's never the player's fault. It's always the coach's fault. And I know I might be in the minority when I say this. Like, I might be more of like an old school mentality, I guess. But like, there are times when the coach is wrong. I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a team with AD, LeBron, Russ, even Melo, Malik Monk's pretty good. But that's really it. Like they're role players. THT is good, so they have depth, but they don't have the Alex Caruso. They don't have the guy that kind of does all the dirty work when you need
The
him
bench
to.
doesn't have an identity.
Yeah,
And
like
just throw, oh, you're hot, go in. Oh, you had a good
that's
game on.
that's kind of the problem with the Knicks is without Derrick Rose, Emmanuel quickly he's not a true point guard, and you can see it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like he's a pretty solid scorer. He's a bench player. I'm fine with him, but without Derrick Rose, they have no one to really run their offense. And you've seen Toppin's play fall off a little bit. You've seen even Burks play like in the starting lineup. He's been kind of struggling a little bit. Um, so you can't even like Noel Robinson, whoever's on the bench for that game, they're not getting as much production because they don't have a guy that's running the floor and keeping everything under control. So back to the Lakers. I think Vogel and Russ are two of the biggest scapegoats in the NBA. Like, why is Anthony Davis not going to get any criticism? Which he does. I'm not gonna say he doesn't, but why doesn't he get any criticism for like not being there? Because like, he's been so injury prone, and he signed on to be this guy, and not. I don't know. I don't even know if did he force his way out of New Orleans.
He just wanted out. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you did all of this, and yeah, you won the bubble title. I'm not calling it a gimmick title because everyone had got dealt the same cards. Like I don't like when people call it a Mickey Mouse title because everyone that went to the bubble dealt with the same thing the Lakers did. So you know what? Like, and the reason why I say that is because if the Knicks would have won, I wouldn't have called it a Mickey Mouse title. So,
Tyler, Tyler's left smiling because I would say that just to make him mad as a joke. I'd be like, all
oh
right,
yeah, as a joke.
they're the best team. They were winning it. Like even if the Celtics made the finals, they were taking care of them in 5 or 6. Like
Yeah, and
they're the best.
Miami getting there kind of helped them because Miami knocked out a bunch of really good teams, and Jimmy Butler's gas. There's always that picture that we see,
Yeah.
and maybe that was for an NBA reporter, but we're not going to have any controversy on the show.
I'm starting to wonder about Jimmy, but we'll get to that in the future.
Yeah, but yeah, with the Lakers, I just think they're people call them like the retirement home, wherever you want to call them. That's
Oh,
cool.
they're the
But
oldest team in the league.
yeah, but it's like they kind of put together like they don't have like they don't mesh. They have a bunch of pieces to the puzzle that fit different puzzles.
Yeah, no, I'd put a lot of most of the blame on Rob Pelinka. He kind of just made the Russ deal and
Yeah,
basically said like, "Oh, make it work."
yeah. I was gonna get to that too. Actually, like you put Vogel in a situation where he just won, and then you get rid of a guy like Caruso. You don't sign him to the value he deserves, and you get rid of like these players. I'm not even sure. Like even like it was Marcus Gasol on that team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like a guy like that, like just a veteran guy, and like LeBron's a veteran, but he's a star veteran. It's different. When you're a guy that comes off the bench, it's a different mindset. It's a different view of the game. It's always going to come easy for LeBron. That's why he's the greatest player of all time. Haters mad. Um, I think that yeah, like you said, the is it Rob Pelinka? I don't want to say his name wrong.
for the pay.
Pelinka with a P.
Pelinka. Okay, I don't want to say his name wrong. I get it wrong all the time. Why doesn't he get the blame? He put together this team. You're the one that didn't sign like a true point guard because Russell Westbrook is not like a true point guard. You get Rondo and you trade him. Like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, it's like Boston last year. Like it wasn't on Brad Stevens as we saw. Like it
Yeah,
was Dan Ainge for not, and it wasn't his fault. Like we didn't obviously he couldn't do anything about Kyrie. He couldn't do anything about Hayward. He couldn't do
yeah,
anything about Horford just going to Philly. But
yeah. Well,
yeah, it's like, and it's not. I see Rob's point of view. It's like you had more talent and you're like make it work. He thought it would work, but if anyone deserves to have the finger pointed at them, I guess it's him.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of always blaming the coach, especially when you just won a championship for you a couple years ago in any sport, especially like we're not really talking about baseball this much this week, although there is an update and I'm very excited. I hope that something good happens, but that'll be next week. I think that like sometimes like the personnel you get dealt, like you can't do anything with it. Like in baseball, like you get bullpen arms that don't play well, don't pitch well. Why are you gonna blame the coach? How about get outs? You know?
Yeah.
Don't say, "Oh, I'm not made for this situation." Okay, you signed here, and it might have been your only deal. I get that. I get like, I'm not gonna tell someone how to spend their money, or use their money. But like you're put in a spot to succeed. You're a professional athlete. Like, be somewhat average. Like, don't
Unless it's
stink up the room. Unless you're like,
Aaron,
if you put like a position player in the pitch, that's on the coach. Or
unless it's
something.
Aaron.
No, but everyone knows that Brian Cashman runs the show there, and Aaron Boone is just, I don't know, just he leaves something to desire, but he wins, so I'll give him that. He's always won. He's a Yankee manager, so he's going to be judged differently. So I'll give him some slack for that, but I don't think he's a great manager. But back to basketball. Just a quick little spitball before we get into our All-Star reserves this week, which I'll provide you guys with that. Like visual, so it's easy for you guys to see. We will provide you guys with that. You know, we're not selfish on this show, unless we're talking about the Knicks. I think that with the what do you call it? Let me just change this back to gallery. I think with the Bulls, that's what I was gonna talk about. They have a bunch of guys injured, and they have Lonzo's out now, long time. Levine's out right now. Do you guys still think they're a top 3 team in the East?
You can go, Ty.
At full health, absolutely. I mean, DeMar has kind of not necessarily fallen off the cliff, but he's not performing how he was, at that MVP level, like a month or a few weeks ago. But I mean, when you got a healthy Lonzo, Levine, DeMar, Vooch, Kobe White, I'd argue that they are the best team in the East, and maybe in the league when DeMar's playing like that, because you have 2 guys that you can go to at the end of the game who can, and I would say anywhere, but DeMar's not really a 3-point shooter, but you can toss them the ball and say, score, we need you to score, and they can do that. You have a point guard who's not only an elite passer, but an elite defender. I think probably top 3 guard defender in the league. You have still one of the most underrated big men in the league in Vooch, who you could also just throw the ball into and say score. And he's also a willing passer too. And then you got guys like Kobe White, you got Caruso, you got all these role players that can come in and make a big impact too. So when they're healthy, I don't want to say, because see, the thing with Kyrie is kind of throwing everything off, because in a series, when they go back home to Brooklyn, like, no Kyrie, but then you go, I don't know, wherever, oh, Kyrie can play now. So that might be a little, might kind of throw things off for Brooklyn. But I mean, that team at full health, which they aren't because Kyrie is only playing half the games, is undoubtedly the best team in the East and probably the best team in the league. But with that in mind, I think I am taking Chicago as the best team in the East.
Yeah, I like that take, and it's funny because me and Rich talked about this like multiple times. And when one of our first few pods, we were like, all right, well, they showed they could beat them in Brooklyn when Lonzo hit that big 3 for a dagger, and Levine and DeMar's defense on the Nets and Barclays was awesome. And yeah, I see the Kyrie point of view. My thing is, I think they made a big statement in that ESPN game because Kyrie wasn't even that much of a factor. He didn't even play in the final quarter, I don't think, and it was a bunch of the dirty work from like DeAndre Bembry and Griffin and guys like that, like diving on the floor. I was saying to Rich, it reminded me of when I went to Pierce night and the Cavs just wiped the floor with us and made a statement, silencer after silencer. The bench was going nuts, stuff like that. And fully healthy, yeah, I think they could be the best team. Do I think they could take Brooklyn down in a series? No, but with the whole Kyrie situation, I think they have a shot, and it could be a really good one. And it's just, yeah, the Kyrie thing's tough for them, obviously, and it's fully healthy. We've seen what they can do, and this is probably my worst take of the year because coming into the season, I was like, they'll be a bottom, not play-in, but they'll be a bottom of the East playoff.
Six.
Yeah, that's what I said, 6 seed. And it's the role players, like you said. It's Caruso, it's Kobe White. Kobe White's stepping up really well without Lonzo. I know you're one of the biggest Lonzo fans. And we see it all started when they got Vooch at the deadline, and we were like, all right, well, they're trying. And him and Levine, the question was like, can that duo work? And then they made a splash with the other two, and they got a glue guy for the second unit, like AC. And that I know that young kid's playing well. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it begins with the D.
Io DeSumo.
Yeah, he's playing really well.
He's been very good too.
And they lost Derek Jones, even though he's a good fit. They are a really well-rounded team, and on both ends, that was my biggest question about them, was they didn't really have much of a defensive identity besides AC and Lonzo. And they rotate well, they do their job, and they proved everyone wrong. And when me and Rich went over coaches of the year, I said Billy Donovan. He's got the talent, but like with what he's been through and stuff like that, I think he deserves it. Like I think Rich said Bickerstaff. You could argue him because no one expected it out of Cleveland. But I think if they get Levine back soon, they'll be fine. The Lonzo thing is a big loss, but Caruso just came back, I believe, and then Kobe White fills his role well, especially with the way he shoots the ball and on offense. And yeah, if they get Zach back soon, they should be fine, which is why I still have him as an all-star starter. Should be a few weeks or something like that, I'm pretty sure. But they should both be starting, deservingly so, Zach and DeMar. And Chicago is one of the best stories in the league this year, so I don't think it's much to worry about. I think they could hold it down. They should be fine.
Yeah. I just have one knock against Chicago. Like you said, they played great team defense, but they don't have that guy in like a series against, say, Brooklyn, who Billy Donovan can be like, oh yeah, stick KD. Like Milwaukee had PJ Tucker, Giannis, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. I mean, he's still going to drop 50, but like you could put PJ Tucker on him for the whole game, and it's going to be a tough. Like, did you watch the podcast, the JJ Redick podcast with PJ Tucker?
I've seen clips of it, but they don't have a frustrator, like unless it's Lonzo, and clearly he's not a frustrator.
Yeah. What PJ Tucker basically said is like he's going to drop 50. It's going to happen, but like I'm going to make him work for that 50. I'm going to make him work as hard as he can to get that 50. They don't have that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only thing.
That's what he was chirping him too. He was like, I'm going to make you work. Like when he was talking back and forth.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if they're a top 3 team in the East. I think I don't know. I don't take them over Milwaukee. I think Giannis is going to figure it out again. I don't know if I take them over Brooklyn because we've seen what happens when they're at full strength. And the wild card team I have is Miami. I think they're
They haven't been healthy either. They definitely are wild.
So I would they're definitely top 4. I put them 3A or B because them or Miami. But yeah, it's just a matter of health at the end of the year. But so we're gonna move on now to our All-Star reserves. I just took a look at mine. I have a good feeling. I got a couple of like not wild card picks, but guys that you probably don't view as all-stars, but you guys can take over for a little bit and say your all-star reserves.
Ty, you can go first, and you can say your awards if you want to, and starters. I assume we're just going to ring it off, right? 'Cause you're on a bit of a time budget, Rich.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to say the awards, but yeah. So let me preface with the starters. So for my backcourt right now, I have Steph and John Morant. I mean, you don't really have to explain either of those. Memphis has been very surprising. I thought they were going to be good, but not this good. And Steph is Steph. And the front court, I think, is pretty much set in stone right now with LeBron, Jokic, and Rudy Gobert. I really don't see any. I mean, maybe if you want to put Draymond in there over like Gobert or something. Other than that, I think that's set in stone. So for my bench, I have the Phoenix Suns backcourt with CP3 and Devin Booker. Best team in the West. They're deserving of at least 2 All-Stars. And I'd say if DeAndre Ayton was healthy, then he would possibly get a nod, but I think I'm going to keep him off right now. I also have Draymond. I mean, he's probably the defensive player of the year, so. And the Warriors are also very good, so they're deserving of 2 All-Stars. My next 2, sorry, I forgot I had Gobert. My starters, let me switch. All right, my next is Donovan Mitchell. Same thing with the Warriors. They've been good. They're very deserving of 2 All-Stars. Next, a guy we were talking about earlier, I have Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, he's been great. Like he said, he is the best shooting big man of all time over Dirk. But this year, I think the Wolves are 7th right now in the West, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They've shown their full potential with the big 3 plan, or their big 3 plan as well.
Yeah, they're 22 and 23. And, I mean, that team, if they really could put it together, then that team could be something. But I think Kat is deserving of an All-Star nod. My next one is obviously Luka. I mean, if he was playing the way he is right now the whole season, he would be a shoo-in starter. No questions asked. Dallas is obviously rolling, other than their loss last night. But they're playing much better as of late. And then my last, how many was that? That was 6. My last spot, I chose between 3 guys, unless I'm forgetting somebody. I got it between DeJounte Murray, Brandon Ingram, and Andrew Wiggins, if they want to give the Warriors 3 All-Stars. When the Warriors were the number 1 team in the West, I was like, just throw Wiggins in there. They deserve it. But now I'm going to have to say no to Wiggs, and I'm going to have to say no to my boy Ingram, and I'm going to put DeJounte Murray as my final bench player for the West.
Deservingly so.
So you have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Luka Doncic, DeJounte Murray, and who is your 7th guy? Draymond? Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, he's a guy that no one really thinks of because of his stats, basically. But he's an all-star. Okay, and what about your East, Tyler?
So for my backcourt, right now I have Trey and DeMar. I feel like, kind of like what you said, Rob, you can throw DeMar and Levine in, or you could leave Trey in and put Levine in. But for right now, I'm going to stick with DeMar. This is my starters, by the way. And then the front court, it would be KD, Giannis, Embiid, but I think KD is going to be out for the All-Star game. So I'm going to throw in Jimmy Butler as my starter over for KD. So for the bench, I'm going to start off with Zach LaVine. We had the whole spiel about the Bulls, so I don't really need to get into all that. Rob's going to be happy about these next two guys that I have, even though they've kind of been suffering from this
team.
Yeah, they've been suffering from the same, not same, but like similar issues the Lakers have. I'm going to go with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I mean, JT, me and Rob talked about this. JT has not been having a great season. I texted him and I was like, because I was looking at Tatum's stats and I was like, I didn't realize that he was like shooting the ball this inefficiently because he's just been known as a super efficient, 25 to like 30 a game. You can just toss him the ball, it'll get you a quick bucket. But JB has stepped up a lot, and I think his biggest knock on his game, because he can score, he can defend, it's been in his playmaking. But I think as of late, he's been a pretty solid, or at least improved playmaker as well as Tatum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to have those two guys. James Harden. Got to have him in there. The Nets are, I don't even know. I think they're, what are they, second or third in the East right now? But I mean, we know what James Harden is. One of the best players in the league, one of the best playmakers in the league, and when he wants to be the best scorer in the league. My next guy is somebody who I'm a big fan of. He puts on for the short guys, smaller guys. Went undrafted, bet on himself, and honestly went crazy for like a 10-game stretch. It's Fred VanVleet. Him and Siakam have been really just pulling that team's weight with, guys like Scott Barnes and a few of their key role guys out. They've just been carrying them, and now they're a playing team right now, and they're tied with the Celtics right now. They're only a game and a half behind, or half a game behind the Wizards, so they're going to keep going. Fred's had a great year. I think we should reward him. My next guy is maybe at this point my favorite guy in the league that's not a Laker. I have him on my dynasty fantasy basketball team, and he's been unbelievable. It's Darius Garland. Love him so much. He's so consistent. He's such a great playmaker, but I think that also helps his scoring because he's so crafty and shifty that, I mean, the defense just doesn't know what to do sometimes. Is he going to, throw a lot to Jared Allen, or is he, I don't even know, Euro stepping through the lane? But I love Darius Garland. He's been so good. And for my last spot, I kind of just threw in a name that could possibly be it, but I kind of debated between the guy I chose, LaMelo, and Sabonis. And I actually just changed my mind right now. I'm going to go with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's my last guy. There's no limit on like guards.
You got a small,
right?
yeah, so you got a small bench.
That's fine with me. Because my guy was going to be Sabonis, but I'm like, Beal's going to be an all-star.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we'll go with. So we got Freddie, Garland, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal. In the East.
Tyler, you stole my sleeper guy.
Was it Garland or Freddie?
Nah, Fred VanVleet. Yeah.
He had like a 10-game stretch. He was averaging like 30 and 10.
Yeah, he's an Iron Man too. He plays every game.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. The bench it's always loaded with talent because it's never a controversy because it's usually it's like the last spot that's controversy usually. So, but so Rob, you can go up now. You can start naming your guys.
Well, me and you talked about our starters with Durant out.
Mm-hmm.
I know it matters position-wise. I don't know if I can go Butler, although I like the pick. It's just he's been off the court a lot this year, and he hasn't played a whole ton of games. So it's tough to not have a Miami All-Star, but that just might be what it is. So to replace Durant, I think it could be Harden or Tatum. Obviously, Tatum hasn't performed like an all-star starter. He like gets his, but the shooting numbers are just not him this year, like we said, and that's what Jaylen Brown has over him. So I'll go Harden, Giannis, DeMar at the two forwards. Zach LaVine sounded stupid in the past for picking Trae Young as a starter. So Embiid has the 5th. East reserves, Trae Young, Darius Garland, like we said, should win most improved player and has just been so dominant playmaking. And me and Rosh talk about his handle all the time. It's one of the best in the league at this point. And he's clutch as well, as we've seen with the Cavs. LaMelo Ball, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. You could argue now Tatum's Tatum, but like Jaylen is just right there with him. And that's always been his strength is the efficiency. Like he was shooting, I think I wrote it down yesterday. He's shooting like 40 something from 3 this month and almost 50 from the field. He's just been so dominant this month. Had his first career triple double, had a 50-point game. Like I said to you just before, like on the playmaking end, he's better than Jason. So JB, it's tough with the Celtics and the record, but we saw last year they both got them in together, and I think they might have been under 500 at the time. But Jaylen Brown, Fred VanVleet has just been dominant. I knew Toronto would be a nice surprise, led by Nick Nurse, and Siakam has impressed me. He could also be a candidate, but I don't think he'll get snuck in. And Bradley Beal, dominant scorer, is upped his shown potential as a playmaker this year. It's nice to see him have a nice team around him with Kuzma, Dinwiddie when he's on the floor, the Biggs and Gafford and Harrell. And Washington's changing their culture as well. But, all right, West starters, LeBron, Steph, the Joker, Chris Paul I had just because of Phoenix's success. I know some analysts out there have him as a starter just because of how he's led them. People might think Booker, but it's just Paul won't stand out stats-wise, but he'll get it done when it matters most. I saw he was dominant last night in Dallas as he hit a dagger as well. So my 5th, I also don't know why I had Donovan over Ja, but I'm replacing that. Ja is my 5th starter. Like we said, he's an MVP candidate. In the West, or reserves for the West, Luka, Gobert, Draymond, if he isn't out that long, Donovan, Karl Towns. DeJounte Murray has been off the charts, filling the stat sheet. He's looks like the new king of the triple-double at this point, honestly. And he's an elite defender. The Spurs are more than grateful to have him, and hopefully they can build a new culture around him as Pop is kind of on his way out. But like you said, Ingram, it's tough to snub him with, he's been pretty dominant this year. Like the numbers haven't been up that much compared to last season, but his playmaking has been impressive. But obviously this is a guy, many people who will be watching this will be thinking, how did you not name him earlier? But Devin Booker is my last reserve for the Western Conference. And that's my 2 teams.
Okay, I will. So your Eastern guys are who? I got 3 of them down. I just want to get them down.
You want me to say the reserves?
Yeah, just the reserves.
Trae, Darius Garland, LaMelo Ball, Tatum, Brown, VanVleet, and Beal. Also a small team.
Okay, so I got
Sabonis.
Tatum.
Yeah, Sabonis is another tough snub, but in Indiana, they showed last night in Golden State that they could be impressive. And Carlisle, I thought he executed awesomely last night, if that's a word. But
so Jaylen Brown, Fred VanVleet, Brad Beal, Trae Young, Darius Garland, Jason Tatum, and did you name a 7th guy?
LaMelo.
We have LaMelo in. Oh, wow.
You could say Bridges as well, but it's just I don't think Charlotte deserves 2.
Okay, I'm moving on now to my East and West just because we're a little short on time. For my East, you guys know my starters already. I took Durant out of the All-Star game completely just because he's not going to play. So it's not really fair to give him a spot over someone. So I moved Embiid. Yeah, I know I didn't have Embiid as a starter. I moved him into my starters. And for my All-Star reserves for the East, I have James Harden. I got Jaylen Brown, Darius Garland, Fred VanVleet, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum. So those are the 6. And then my sleeper guy that I have is Jared Allen. I think he deserves some credit for what he's been doing. He was kind of like everyone was like, why are you trading Jared Allen? Like for the Nets, they got Harden, but like he was part of like that big like 3-4 team deal last year. And he's been an anchor. He's what I want Mitchell Robinson to be, but he's getting there. So that's my East. For my West, it's a little tougher. I got Morant on my bench. Because I'm gonna stick with my starters. I had Mitchell in as a starter and Steph as well with Luka. So I'm gonna keep that. Then I have Ja. Then I have the Suns backcourt of Booker and Paul. Then I have Gobert on my bench because I have Jokic at the 5 and Braun at the 4. So right now, yeah. So I got those 4. Then I got Draymond. That's 5. Then I got Cat. That's 6. And then I'm gonna go similar to you guys or similar to Tyler. I'm gonna go DeJounte Murray. I think he might not get the global love and the national love because of just the fact of like the Spurs aren't really a national team, but I think that he's playing really well. And I left a couple guys off that like are notable, like Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. Those guys are playing well. Wiggins playing well. But the guys will get hurt. Guys will be reserves, and so you guys will be able to see this like as a visual, obviously, because we're on camera now, thankfully. And that's all we got for this week. You guys, Tyler, you want any Instagram or Twitter, anything like that you want to tell the people?
My name, Tylerroshala. I'm just spelled my last name wrong.
Alrighty. How about you, Rob?
Nothing, man. I just read a Jaylen Brown encyclopedia, and then last time I did a podcast with a very good Celtic reporter for CLNS. We kind of went down memory lane and had a heart-to-heart, compared it to Celtic pride in the past with this disappointing team. But yeah, that's about it. I'm right up the storm. I got another one coming.
Yep. Like always, follow us on Instagram at the Sports Bible Pod or Sports Bible Pod. Follow me on TikTok at Richie Dordas. Follow my YouTube channel. Just type in my name, it comes up. Should be my logo. On my Instagram, which is RD Sports Blogs. I'll leave links to a couple of our recent work that me and Rob are doing, as well as Tyler. And that's all we got for this week. Thank you guys for allowing us to do this and continue to do this. We're growing more and more. You can also now, if you would like to help the show, you can now drop donations on Anchor. What I'm going to do is if we get enough donations, I'm going to give out like a prize to like if you give a donation, your name will be entered in. I'll pick a prize and we'll send it out. But that's a start. Like that's something very new. But besides that, that's all I really got. Find this podcast on YouTube at Sports Bible Pod. And that's all we really got. You guys got anything else?
Nothing, man. Thank you, guys. This was really fun, and Tyler will definitely be a frequent guest for us. This is a great episode. Yep. One of my favorites.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Tyler.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. See you guys later.
See you guys.